into team, and it tackles those very issues. Where do I find people? Once I find people, what are the benefits I need to offer? Not just what are the benefits, but how do I go about getting those in an economical manner and still making these multi-state things work? How do I deal with the fact that I now have team members? How do I handle employee issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? We have a very thriving channel in our circle community that is, I'm hiring. And so what we have also recognized is that individually, people like yourself, Rory, will be looking to fill a position, right? You get 600 resumes, you narrow it down to the top 10, and then you hire one. Well, guess what? Candidate number 2, 3, 4, and 5 were pretty damn good too, right? And so what we end up doing is those people end up going with their permission into a pool. They get passed around. So the work that one firm is doing, other firms can benefit.
Welcome to AFO Wealth Management Forward, a podcast about finance, accounting, technology, and entrepreneurship. We apply our decades worth of experience and insight into what makes businesses work, so we can help others grow both personally and professionally. In this ever-evolving marketplace, we help accounting firms and financial advisors grow their practice through the adoption of holistic wealth management services. Learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts to unlock the secrets of their success. A podcast that shows people and companies the transformative power of technology so they don't fear it, but instead harness it. Don't fight the robots, team up with them. And here are your hosts, Rory Henry, Director of Business Development, and CEO Rob Santos of Arrowroot Family Office.
All right. Hello, everyone. We have a couple of great guests with us today. Let me introduce them. We have Richard Roppa-Roberts, who is the Quasar Cowboy. He runs Quasar Cowboy Consulting and Roundtable Labs. He's a top QuickBooks Pro advisor. He's an educator, speaker, and intellectual handyman. And we're also joined by Dave Kersting of Capovario. And he is the community manager over at Roundtable Labs, which is a community of accountants, bookkeepers, CPAs, EAs, firm owners, and humans. So without further ado, let me introduce our esteemed guests, Richard and Dave. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rory. I do want to correct one thing, though. And I am pro advisor in name only. I've passed the test, but you'd never want me in your books. That's kind of one of the things that
You don't do debits and credits, right?
Not for a minute. I rely on the professionals to do that. I get to look at their business when I am helping the accountants that I work with from a customer standpoint. And so I've never wanted to dig into the world of accounting because I maintain objectivity by not being one of them.
I love it. Well, let's talk about that and the community you guys run over at Roundtable Labs. Can you give our audience a background on yourselves real quickly and then what you guys do over at Roundtable?
Sure. Do you want to start, Dave, or do you want me to start?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm the community manager for Roundtable Labs. To me, that's an exciting position to hold because I get to reach out and talk with every one of the members and be there to assist them and come up with ideas of what we can do. The best thing about Roundtable Labs is that it is a collaborative, non-competitive environment where we can put out there that I'm not the only one that has a problem or a solution to what we're talking about. And that really helps us work together as a team, grow as a team, and understand different areas in the country and how things might be different in New York than they are in California.
Couldn't have said that better, Dave. Thank you. Fantastic. Well, you also have Capovario, which is your company. Why don't you talk a little bit about that too, and then I'll jump in.
Perfect. Yeah. So Capovario, we're based in Denver, Colorado, but of course, as most of us are, we're virtual, so we are everywhere in the country. Our primary focus is in concierge consulting, which a lot of people call advisory services. We like to look at advisory services as something you can do, but to be a concierge service, that's everything that your client might need, whether it's accounting or non-accounting items. We do handle bookkeeping and accounting work as well. We work hand in hand with other firms to help them scale their business. And if they're having a hard time hiring, they hire my firm to kind of fill that gap until they get to where they need to be. We just love everything that we do, and that's why our motto is we get you and we got you. Back to you,
We
Richard.
get you and got you. All right, Richard. And Richard, before you talk about what you do, and I know you do a bunch of stuff, but I also want to get your definition of advisory. I always talk to guests here and ask them what their definition of advisory is, because it is nebulous and it means different things to different people.
So I like to say that it's all the things that you're already doing that are not in scope.
Yeah.
And most people are just tacking those on, not charging for them, not recognizing that those are valuable services. And I tend to put it like this, when you go to a restaurant and you order a cheeseburger, you'll often say, can I get bacon with that? And nobody goes, well, how much is that bacon? Can we negotiate on the price of the bacon? Say, add the bacon, please.
Yes.
That's advisory. Advisory is the bacon. It's the extra. It's the on top. And most of the time, when the server comes by and says there will be an extra charge, nobody thinks twice. They say, not a problem. And that's kind of the same concept that we have with advisory services. Yeah. Asking for a service, it's not necessarily in scope. You're doing it, you should charge for it.
Yeah. And so let's kind of dive in here to Roundtable Labs. When did you come up with this concept? I know the communities out there are starting to thrive. And you built a great community over the last, couple of years here. Can you talk about, what gave you this idea and, why you believe Roundtable Labs is so special? Absolutely.
So in 2015 is actually when it started. So it's been more than a couple of years. But the idea started as an accident. I was attending Stacy K Academy. My mentor is Stacy Kildall. She's wonderful. She's been voted most powerful woman in accounting, I think 7 times. She's won all the awards. She has definitely been my mentor through this journey. And it was an offshoot of Stacy K Academy. Many people were going through there. They were getting all the tips and tricks on how to improve their practice. And then when the course was over, they didn't know how to actually start. And I was there with some of our current members. Our first members are still in the community 7 years later. And they were like, you've got a lot of ideas. Can you help us? It's like, yeah, I think I can. And it was born. And I threw everybody into a room. It was actually invoiced for the first year as the Unnamed Roundtable Project. We met twice a month. We had a Facebook group. We quickly realized that we were kind of doing the opposite of what we needed to do by having a Facebook group. People were getting sucked into social media instead of working on their businesses. We quickly moved over to a Slack community, which was thriving. That we were passing probably 50,000 messages a month, which is an insane number of messages. In those first few years, we quickly realized we were getting so many channels and so much administrative stuff dealing with in Slack that we moved to an actual online community. And that platform that we're using is called Circle. And it's a wonderful platform that has allowed us to grow in different ways. So we started with the original Roundtable, which one of our members actually named. She came to me one day and said, I know the name. Said, what? She goes, not the only one. I said, well, that's odd. And she goes, it's not. And I'm like, okay, talk to me. What do you got in mind? Yeah. She goes, I'm not the only one who's been here. I'm not the only one who has this problem. I was like, you're right. That's a fantastic name. So Not the Only One Roundtable was born. And that was our only roundtable for the first 5 years. And then about 3 years ago, we branched off. We added on our second roundtable, which was called Get Out of Your Own Way Roundtable. And it was exactly that. It was for business owners who are needing to get out of their own way. They're the bottlenecks, and they recognized it, but they didn't know how to get out of their own way. So we had a wonderful host, Anna Reddy, who has since passed the baton to the amazing Alexa Sadler, who now hosts the renamed Get Out of Your Own Way, and it's called Cultivation Through Accountability. And Dave is actually a member of that. It is for business owners and their second in command. And so they work together, they work separately, they hold each other accountable. Right now, I think you guys are working on goal processing for the next quarter. And they really do. They hold each other accountable, and they do all kinds of different business goals. But we never lose sight of the fact that we deal with the problems of the day as well. For instance, we had a member in that group, and I feel like I'm monologuing, but
it's okay. No, go keep on going.
I promise. We had a member in the group who was losing her second in command and had a lot of things going on. And the group stopped everything they were doing and walked through what the best offboarding practice was, how to onboard the new one, how to find the new one, all of the things that needed to happen. And she didn't miss a beat. And that's the definition of our group. Collaboration without competition. These are all folks that in normal circumstances, and I do put that in bunny quotes, but in normal circumstances, they would be looking at each other as competitors.
Yeah.
It's truly a great community to be a part of, because being a firm that's only a few years old, I got to learn from people that have been in the business in their own firms for 10 years, 20 years, that have 20 or 30 or 40 employees, and I have 2 employees. And it really gives you that scope of knowledge that you need, the things to do, the things not to do. And like
where they stub their toe, you can leverage their experience.
Exactly. And with the cultivation for accountability, that really holds us accountable as business owners to actually be business owners for our own firms, our own companies, and also provides our right hand, our person that's helping us do everything, with an opportunity to kind of learn from all the owners that are in the group. So it truly is an environment of a family, and everybody wants to help and they're excited to help. And I think that to me is why my firm is where it is, and why I'm happy and excited to come to work every day.
Yeah. I mean, let's dive into some of these most pressing issues. I know we have the staffing crisis here. There's issues with attracting and hiring talent. Can you guys talk about some of the main issues, the main pain points of those of the community, and then maybe some of the solutions that are being talked about?
I wish our newest host and longtime member, Angela Roberts, and her man, Tanya Belanger, was here with us today, because we have just launched, it starts on the 9th of this month or next month, a new roundtable called From Dream to Team, and it tackles those very issues. Where do I find people? Once I find people, what are the benefits I need to offer? Not just what are the benefits, but how do I go about getting those in an economical manner and still making these multi-state things work? How do I deal with the fact that I now have team members? How do I handle employee issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? We have a very thriving channel in our circle community that is, I'm hiring. And so what we have also recognized is that individually, people like yourself, Rory, will be looking to fill a position, right? You get 600 resumes, you narrow it down to the top 10, and then you hire one. Well, guess what? Candidate number 2, 3, 4, and 5 were pretty damn good too, right? And so what we end up doing is those people end up going with their permission into a pool. They get passed around. So the work that one firm is doing, other firms can benefit from it as well.
Yeah.
And so we try to solve the problems through a lot of different means, through brain power, the hive mind, but also just through the fact that somebody else has been there. We're happy to talk to number 2, number 3, number 4 candidate. And so it just makes the process a lot easier for people.
Yeah. Especially right now with all of the, the struggle it is to to get and retain your employees, with the market that we have, having to compete with the big dogs in the world, like the big ginormous companies, I think the benefit for our type firm is that are remote in by nature. This helps us understand that I can hire somebody from New York, even though I'm in Denver, and they can work for me. But what does that look like? And I think that structure for someone new to hire people is where, the Dream to Team Roundtable really puts it in perspective for me, and it helps me understand that, they're the experts. They're training me on how to lead and become a better leader with a team that could be anywhere at any time. So you mentioned, like, what do we do? How do we get candidates? How do we retain those candidates? I feel like Richard hit the point, which is our community. We share all of our work, meaning, like, if I'm doing all these interviews, I'm going to make sure that, hey, I didn't hire you, but we've got these other options out here as well. And a lot of people are like, why would you do that? I mean, like, you're giving your competitor, the person that you did all this work for. And again, it's the non-competitive but collaborative environment that makes Roundtable Labs so exciting. And it reduces some of that stress of, well, what did I do wrong in the interview? Or, am I not offering the right benefits? And that's why I'm not retaining my staff. 1,000 questions can come up.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Richard.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one quick thing. Some of the very exciting things that have happened in the group over the years. We've had members that have merged firms because they work together so collaboratively. Dave, for instance, is working with a top member of the community, and they share a very large client, and they have learned to work through all the details of how are we gonna split the compensation? How are we going to charge for this? How are we going to make sure that neither one is putting in the majority of the work? And they worked out a wonderful deal. It's not a 50-50 split. It's based on the workload, but not the hours.
Yeah.
And so it's almost nothing that we do or suggest doing in the group is based on hours. We're very much a group that believes in the concept of fixed fee. And but we also know that sometimes hourly is more effective, like during cleanup season and those kinds of things. I did want to mention one other thing, because I didn't get to say this earlier. So I want to circle back. We now have I talked about launching from Dream to Team. We also have a nonprofit specific roundtable. We have a construction specific.
So you're niching your roundtables.
We absolutely are. But we also have some that have nothing to do with specific industry niches. They have to do with specific issues of the day. So we have one called Empower Your Passion, and that group is tight. They work together. They have secondary accountability groups. But that group started as a way to conquer imposter syndrome. Something that hits everybody, myself included. I deal with imposter syndrome all the time. Not being an accountant, not being a bookkeeper. Who am I to work with bookkeepers and accountants and tell them how to do things? I'm kind of the keeper of the cumulative knowledge. And that's, because I pull from my experience with all of the community and all of my personal coaching clients to help our members and to help my coaching clients. So
speaking of coaching clients, I know you guys have a roundtable about coaching and I think consulting or advising and public speaking. Can you kind of talk about that roundtable? That's something that interests me. I'm always trying to get better. I have imposter syndrome when it comes to public speaking.
Well, you're doing a great job at it. Just going to say that.
Thank you, Richard.
So we do. We have a host named Ingrid Edstrom, and this is actually the second roundtable that she is leading. It's called Journey Beyond Accounting. So it's for former bookkeepers and former accountants who have moved solely into the world of speaking, writing, educating, advisory, but not calling it advisory. All of those factors go into this particular roundtable. That group is also thriving because that's a space that nobody really talks about. Everybody says, got to get into advisory. So when you're really successful at it, guess what? You're on an island all by yourself. until you find others that are like you. And so we've got Ingrid leading that group, and they have had some phenomenal discussions and some very nice wins. For instance, one of the members was writing her first article for a national publication. We all helped edit it. We all helped add to the content, and it wasn't like we were all wanting part of the byline.
Yeah.
We wanted her to succeed, and her article was published, and a lot of fanfare. It was fantastic. We achieved the goal that she was trying to achieve.
I believe communities are starting to flourish now because of the modern communication, and because of Slack, because of Circle, because of Zoom. Can you guys talk about, are you pulling people from everywhere across the United States? Are we looking globally as well in regards to these communities?
So our current community has members in, I think 40 states. I think we just hit our 40th state, and in 4 countries. So we absolutely 100% do not have a locality requirement, and none of our sub cohorts do either. So the entire community itself is global, mostly US and Canada. We have one member in South Africa. We have one member in Poland. And they're all very contributing members of the group. And the only time it gets weird and dicey is like when we were dealing with PPP issues.
Yeah.
The Canadians were like, again with PPP. So the Canadians took a little pause for a day or two on that. But they're back in the fold, and we learned from that experience, to make sure that the topics are going to fit a global audience, but we also still work with the majority of the room. So we are now looking at, we do special, one-off things every now and again. And we just brought in somebody to talk multi-currency when you're dealing with multi-currency cross borders, and we brought in one of our Canadian experts to do that. Esther Friedberg-Hart. She's wonderful at multi-currency, like the best.
And for me, being a user, not so much as a community manager, but being a user of Roundtable Labs, it's very nice to connect with the Canadians and some of those that are not in the United States, because what that does for me is it helps me understand what are the delays that they might be having, or that we're having, that they have, they have something really good, we don't have it, or vice versa. And it helps us in the States, it helps us kind of communicate to like an Intuit, QuickBooks environment, and say, hey, you know what, we have this access, but the Canadians don't. Why not? We need to be able to be working together. And it helps prepare or provide that voice that you need. We all need a big voice, and I think Roundtable Labs has a voice when we're talking to our partner apps like I said, Intuit, Liscio, Keeper, Melio. Those are all really important aspects of Roundtable, and like Richard had said, we do these one topics. So we'll bring in experts or people that can specifically talk about what's going on. So you mentioned earlier, we were talking about hiring. Well, if we're hiring somebody and we're doing benefits, I don't understand what New York's requirements are for my employees that live in New York. Well, we're bringing in experts to kind of help us do that, and we're going to call it like an insurance, insurance of the minds, or whatever you want to call it, and really bringing in these different people that can say, this is the type of health insurance you need that will cover anyone throughout the country. Instead of it being like, okay, well, I'm local in Denver, so everything is going to be Denver, y'all are out of pocket. And it really helps the new environment that we're dealing with remote employees. Yeah. Again, having those special one topics is actually really fun. Because we get to learn stuff and meet people that maybe we wouldn't have met on our own.
Yeah. So one of the things that we did in a one topic, and thank you for bringing that up, Dave. One of the things that we recently did was bring in an expert on recruiting, hiring, and interviewing. That kind of jump started the From Dream to Team roundtable, because that got everybody talking about employees. And how to keep them and how to retain them and how to hire them and all of that. So some of these one topic deep dives, which the entire community, all of the smaller cohorts are invited to these bigger discussions. They were like very loud and clear. Yeah, we need something to talk about on an ongoing basis, how to deal with employees, how to manage them, how to reward them, how to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because everybody, we have some members that are very much old school. They want to monitor and they everything is tracked by the second. And we have others that are like, just get the work done. And so we figure out how to deal with that and meet in the middle and come up with suggestions that work for everybody. I'm a firm believer that there's not one answer, there's no cookie cutter. So when we talk these things out, we don't do it with a PowerPoint. We don't do it with a Google slide deck. We talk it out and everybody's voice matters. So when you come to Roundtable, expect to be called on, expect to participate, expect to have your camera on because we want that interactivity. Rory, we also don't record the sessions. So for what we realized probably in year one, what I realized in year one was I was recording all the sessions, sending them out. Not a soul was clicking on them if they weren't there. And then I realized, how many times do I attend a webinar and go, I can't wait for that recording and I'll watch it later. And how many do you actually watch later? Never, none. I took a poll, nobody ever watches them. And so we kind of made a rule that nothing is ever recorded. It maintains privacy. People are different when they're not being. People are
willing to be more vulnerable.
Oh, and we do get vulnerable. Sometimes there are tears, sometimes there are cheers, and sometimes we talk about our fears. So it's all of the above. And that's why we like to maintain, not like to, we require that we maintain the privacy of the group. So you'll never really see any advertisements out there saying, you know, look, this member just closed a big ass deal. So, but that's not our style. We want, you know, it's up to the member if they want to promote it and say something about what they're doing. We don't use our members as props. So we like to keep it in-house. It's up to them to say if they're in the group or not.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have a technology roundtable as well, where you work with technology partners, or do you advise on different technology apps?
This is a complicated answer. So I'm going to try to explain it. So my consulting business, Quasar Cowboy, does in fact work with technology partners. I consult with them, etc. The only roundtable that is not a part of our bigger community, because one of our rules is no vendors allowed. We want people to be able to talk freely about their experiences with apps, customer service, etc. But we do have an apps roundtable. And there are some amazing things that have come out of that. For instance, we've got 2 people in the room, CEOs of companies, and their apps have a lot of overlap. Again, you would think, why would competitors be in the room? Well, when we really break it down, app A's overlap is app B's sweet spot and vice versa. And now they're partnering together and building integrations together to sell those 2 apps together, because they've recognized that, and it's not about, they're not merging firms, they're still their own individual things. But what they were recognizing is this app is right for this type of thing with a side of this, and this app has a sweet spot of the side from the other app.
Yeah.
And they're really good at the other thing. And so combining them, we found that many of our members get both. And so they're
collaborative environment, even when you look at just the apps that are in their own little world that we as members aren't, you know, touching and talking with, you know, it gives that collaboration at the higher level. So when I said earlier, Roundtable Labs has a voice. Roundtable Labs not only has the voice, but they have the apps wanting to be a participant with each other within the rules of Roundtable Lab, you know, of the non-competitive environment. And that I think benefits them, and it also benefits us as pro advisors and accountants and bookkeepers, because we get the best thing that comes out of what the collaboration is, and it gives us the ability to bring in one of the apps and say, hey, we're going to do one topic on app A, and we're going to bring them in, and now we as members can now grill them and ask all the questions and say, well, I hate this and I love this, and can you do this, and can you do it faster than you said you could? And it just makes it a lot of fun.
We also, when we have them come into the group, what's fun and different is I don't allow them to do a demo. The most hated thing in the world is having to sit through a demo. It's about our members asking them questions to find out if the app will in fact solve for the need that they have. I tell the apps very clearly, I don't want to hear, that feature is coming down the road. I don't want to hear
have feature dump.
What does the app do today? If they're going to purchase your app today, tell them what it does. It's fine to talk about the future, but the direct answer to the question is no, that feature doesn't exist. Even if it's coming, it still doesn't exist today. And we want that transparency of that. So like, there's a huge difference between that and like when you're at a conference like Scaling New Heights or AICPA or any of the conferences that have just ended. When you go to their booth, it's a very rote process for them. Hey, come over here. Let me show you this app and what it does. And they have their 6 points. They avoid the spots that don't work right. And they tell you, they do this big shiny dance. And guess what? I was on that side of the table for years. So I understand the dance. And what we've done is kind of turn that around. And what they've also done is most of the apps that we work with provide unbelievable discounts for our members. So one of our partner apps that's in Apps Roundtable, for instance, offers 90% off to our members of the cost of their app, and their app for people on the streets is $135 a connection per company, and they get it for 90% off in our group. And that's just one example. And we've got several that are like that. We were just able to, the largest accounting conference of the year is always QuickBooks Connect. We were just able to offer our membership for those that didn't get the early bird pricing, percent off. We were able to offer them 35% off, which is really nice. Working with Intuit, they were able to give us a discount code to do that for our members. So I'm always on the hunt for deals. At the same time, reminding the apps that the discounts and things are not always the best marketing tool. The best marketing tool is a really solid app that does everything. But in addition, what ends up happening, for instance, Dave has gotten a lot of webinar opportunities with Lissia. He has been on the promotion trail for Lissio, and he's formed a very deep relationship with the folks at Lissio. And that formed because of the connection in the two roundtables.
And for me, I mean, it was spectacular to have that connection, because I love the Lissio product. I love what it does, being a customer-facing software that is so super secure, like bank level security. I can get these documents with their social security number on it and not be scared. And it's all easy and in one place. I had such passion for it that to be able to connect with, Chris and Allison over there, it was just beyond me. I was like, who are you? You're the CEO and you're talking to me. I'm like, I'm just little old Dave, and so again, at Roundtable helps me have the confidence in the skill set to be able to talk with a CEO and handle it in a way that it gets my passion and my excitement out, because I'm just happy, excited person. And I'm like, I love this product and this is why, and let me talk about it more. What can I do, to promote this so other people can enjoy what I'm enjoying. And so again, Roundtable really helps in so many different aspects of your personal life, but in your business life. And then on top of that, adding in Quasar Cowboy, I mean, I'm a coaching member, or a coachee. Richard coaches me and my firm, and he is assisting coaching even some of my staff, my key staff, to make sure that we're on the right path. And here's my vision. Now, how do we make it happen? And I just haven't found that level of support in one place as I have in Roundtable Labs. There's a lot of resources out there, but again, I don't have all day to sit on Google and review articles. This is live, interactive, like we're doing today on the Zoom, and back and forth and back and forth, and raise your hand, I got to come, kind of situation.
I think my calling card in the coaching world, and Dave will attest to this, I tell you the stuff you need to hear, whether you feel like you're ready or not to hear it. I'm gonna couch it and position it in a way that will get through. But we've been able to really advance initiatives for Dave specifically, and many other people very specifically, because it's like, no, that's not the way you should be doing it. Now, here are 4 other options. Let's go with the one you're most comfortable with. But my philosophy in the coaching world is it's about one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
It is not about we're going to get to 6 figures in 6 weeks. Those philosophies that I see those ads every day. I don't know if everybody in your audience does, but I will tell you, I just kind of scoff at those. I don't promise any results, and what I can tell you is that everyone gets results.
Yeah. Well, and that's my question here, Richard, the power of coaching combined with community, because you have a coach can go in there and ask about change and change management, making these, but when you have the community talking about it, you have your peers also going through maybe some of the similar issues or have gone through those issues. Is that really the power of coaching combined with community?
It is. And so for the whole time. So my company has been open for about 7.5 years now. And when I take on a coaching client, Roundtable is part of that package.
Community.
And it's because they don't get me every day, every minute, but they do get the community every day, every minute. And again, somebody else has been there before them. So if they're struggling with something, absolutely they can reach out to me, talk to me. We can have a one-on-one quickie discussion. We can schedule a one-off meeting, but they can also get that from the community because all the members have been there before. And I love it when the things that I talked to people about 3, 4, 5 years ago come back up in the group. And it's like, oh yeah, went through that, been there. Hey, here's what I learned. And then they get to take all of everybody's experiences and go, this is the way that I want to pursue that. Yeah. Because again, there might be 3 or 4 different ways to accomplish it. And so it's about, and I think the difference with me is when I'm in a coaching environment, it's one-on-one, and I'm leading the charge, and I am making sure I have all the information so that I can give people the right advice, the right tool set, the things they need to hear right then and there. With the community, I'm more of a facilitator. I am not the expert. They are the experts, and I make that very loud and very clear. I have color commentary, and trust me, I have an opinion. But it is about the expertise in the room. They are the experts there, and I want them to shine and them to be the stars. So that's the biggest difference. And when we talk about one-on-one versus group, and I think both components put together are what make that combination magical.
Yeah, look like a force multiplier. So my final question here, Richard and Dave, is what's in the future here for Roundtable Labs? What are you hoping to accomplish?
I can tell you what's in the future, and we're just starting.
We're just starting.
But the future of Roundtable are smaller cohorts. We're going to start doing little mini retreats where they can meet up, work for a weekend. We're going to try to keep those very low costs. They're not going to be big conference style scenarios. Again, we have apps lining up that want to sponsor things. We don't want to take sponsorship dollars. What we want is for them to get a really organic experience of what they need to solve for. And so the little cohorts, we're testing out the first one, I think in February is when we're shooting for, to get past 1099 season, after after the second wave of conference season, after the second wave of taxes.
There's always waves.
Right, everything is a wave in the accounting space. But somewhere in the February timeframe, have that first group. Now I'm just going to say we're gonna meet in Palm Springs where I live, because that's going to be easier for me to coordinate and do that for our very first effort. But we are going to have someone who is a professional planner plan these things. But what we're not going to do is do what conferences do, which is we're going to get up at 6 a.m. and have breakfast, and then we're going to work all day, and then everybody's going to drink until 2 in the morning, and then we're going to rinse and repeat and start all over again. We've all been down that path if you've ever been to an accounting conference. But what we are going to do is probably 4 to 5 hours per day of really intense group work. We may separate out into smaller groups, but really intense group work where we cover 1 to 3 topics over the course of a weekend, starting on a Friday, ending on a Sunday, so that they're not taking a lot of time out of their office, but they are able to really work with their people, work with the others that are in the same zone as them, etc. And I imagine that each retreat will really take on a life of its own, because each group has its own personality.
Yeah.
And eventually there will be a big retreat for the entire community, but that's about 2 years down the road.
All right.
I look at the future of Roundtable Labs as being exactly what it is: collaborative, enjoyment, family, fun, engaging. You don't want to miss one of the meetings because you want to help somebody else. That's why we're accountants and bookkeepers, is we love helping people and doing the stuff that most people don't like doing. And Roundtable Labs gives us that opportunity to be a true community, whether virtual, in person, and help each other. And that's what I look at when I say, what's the future of Roundtable Labs? It's growing. It's being more for more people, and being able to even, section off, like we've already started doing with niches, into more areas based on what the community feedback is. Like, we really need, X, Y, Z, and then Richard can provide that for us. And then that just grows a tighter community, and one that we can share with other people and other communities.
Dave, thank you. You're such a fan and such a supporter, and I appreciate that. The biggest thing is we really our members are the experts. And when I say that, I tell the host when we create a new roundtable, this isn't my show. This is yours. Make it yours. The only rule that I have when a new roundtable is created, the hosts and I work collaboratively together to make the roundtable what it is. The only rule that I have is that you don't lose the discussion portion. When the discussion portion is gone, we're no longer a roundtable.
Yeah, we're not collaborative. Yep.
Yeah. So make it yours. Some of our hosts love to follow a very specific agenda. Some want to have homework and takeaways. Some want to do, and each one has found the way to make it work for their group, because the group also has input into how things operate.
I love it. I love what you guys are doing at Roundtable Labs. I love the community. I love the collaboration. I'm super excited. I can't wait to hopefully join you guys one of these days to be part of the roundtable.
You have an open invite, Rory.
Thank you, Richard.
You let me know. I have you taken care of.
All right. Thank you. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, Richard, you, Dave, or what's the best way to join the roundtable?
So the best way to join the roundtable is to go to roundtable-labs.com. There's a button there called Find Your Roundtable, and you'll see right now there's about 13 different roundtables listed. But to make it even easier, we have info sessions twice a month. can't remember the dates off the top of my head, but there's a button on the website as well to get more info. We'll get you into an info session, and then we'll help you figure out which group is going to be the best group for you. Some of them have requirements. The cultivation through accountability, you have to meet certain requirements. Be in the group. You have to have a second in command, etc. They're not hard requirements to meet, but you have to be in the right place to be in that particular group. Our Empower Your Passion group has an application. They want to make sure that that you'll be a good fit in the group. It's not that we're trying to exclude anybody, we're trying to include people into the right places. So what we've also recognized through that process is somebody may want to sign up for X, may not be quite right, but they're perfect for over here. And our hosts are fantastic about getting people into the right place. I absolutely love that about it. It's kind of a self-fulfilling group. They get people to the right place.
Yeah, and when you go on the website, to join, and if you're not sure and you're lost on what to do, come to one of the info sessions. But if you're like, I know I want to be a part of this group, remember that not the only one roundtable is a roundtable, and that is the large roundtable. It's the group roundtable, and it's where we collaborate on all things that come up in topics. It's not like we have an agenda when we start the meeting, specific agenda. We come in and we collaborate on, hey, what's going on today? Hey, I got this problem. Can you help me? And it's just fun. And so I hope everybody, comes and joins us and says hi.
Awesome.
It is definitely community with a side of laughter. I do
we all need that at this time.
Right? Yes. I know. Rory, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Dave. I'll put all this information in the show notes, and we hope to have you guys back on in the future.
We'd love that.
All right. Thank you.
All opinions expressed by Rob Santos and Rory Henry on this website podcast interview are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Arrowroot Family Office LLC or their parent company or affiliates, and may have been previously disseminated on television, radio, internet, or another medium. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinions. Past performance is not indicative of future results.